11Alive News starts now.
Well, welcome into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. I'm Zach Merchant. It is 2 o'clock on Monday, February 2nd, and we have, once again, a very busy news day. We are tracking all of it. Some big developments we're following right now. The ongoing partial government shutdown we are tracking. Speaker Mike Johnson says a vote is expected tomorrow in the House. We're watching the developments underway today in Washington. We're also keeping track of a trial that is now underway in Clark County Superior Court in a cold case killing of UGA law student Tara Baker back in 2001. Opening statements began today, just a few hours ago. We'll take a look at that case coming up. We're also following some expected litigation from Fulton County officials who say they plan to file a motion in response to the recent FBI raid of the Fulton County election hub. We are watching the docket to see when and if that filing hits the docket. Also tracking some Atlanta City Council news. There was a resolution passed a few months ago forming the Edgewood Task Force. It was a task force designed to respond to danger, and it came following a mass shooting in the summer in the Edgewood area. There's a vote scheduled today at Atlanta City Council to see whether the City Council will adopt the findings of that task force. But we're going to begin with Doug Richards, who was at the Capitol today following legislation that could expand Georgia's ban on the use of cell phones for students in public schools. Doug, where does this legislation stand right now?
Well, it got introduced in the last session, and it is having a committee hearing here in a few minutes. As you may remember, there was a bill that outlawed cell phones in schools leading up through middle school, up through grade 8. That law got signed into law by Governor Kemp last year, takes effect this fall. But the sponsor of that bill went ahead, dropped another bill that's getting a hearing now that would expand that ban all the way through grade 12, Zach.
Now, Doug, the middle school bill banning the use of cell phones in middle schools, that's not in effect yet. How do the legislators say they know they want to extend this ban already?
Well, what the sponsor of the bill told me is that even though the bill is not effective yet, the law is not in effect yet, many schools around the state went ahead and administratively enacted the bans individually within individual school systems, reported back that after some questions and a little bit of resistance, that once their individual school bans went into effect, they were pretty effective, and that the disruption that school administrators saw from cell phones started to go down. The disciplinary issues went down, and it seemed like the parents and the students kind of became more accepting of it.
Doug, what are the lawmakers of Capitol saying right now, or are they anticipating any pushback to this effort?
Well, they are anticipating a little bit of pushback because there has always been some pushback, particularly from parents who have grown accustomed during the course of their children's young lives, of their children having cellular contact with them at all times, day and night. And then, during previous school years when the children have been able to possess cell phones in schools, when parents needed to get hold of them or needed to communicate with them quickly or needed to just talk to them about pickup times at the end of school, they were able to text them effectively and could expect to get communication back pretty much instantly. Now that would be curbed somewhat so that the students could still bring their cell phones to school, but they would not be able to use them during school. Instead, they'd be able to use them, however, after dismissal.
Doug, you've relayed the kind of perspective of some lawmakers, of parents, and some students. I wonder if you have picked up on any conversation about the mental health aspect of this legislation as well. There's been increasing research showing a lot of screen time for young people is not good for them. Are lawmakers, parents, school districts, are they considering that impact when they talk about this potential expansion of cell phone bans?
That's an argument I haven't heard much about, except we talked to a young lady today who is a college student who had a cell phone when she was in high school a couple of years ago, and said that the sort of grip that the cell phones had on students was pervasive. She didn't describe it as a mental health issue, but she did sort of describe it as a cultural issue, and one that really that in order to eliminate cell phones from schools, it would require not just the mere administrative removal of cell phones out of sight from classrooms, but that it also would require a change of mindset that she thought was far overdue, because cell phones had become such a distraction in classrooms. And I don't think that exactly addresses the mental health question that you're asking, but it all seems to be part of the equation here.
All right, Doug, it looks like things are getting busy behind you. I know you're going to duck into that hearing. We're going to let you go. Doug Richards, thank you very much.
See you later, Zach.
All right, we're going to turn now. That's the story from the Capitol. The other big story that we continue to follow, seems like every week, is the weather story. We're going to turn now to Melissa Nord, who has been very busy throughout the last couple weeks. Melissa, I feel like we've had these conversations many times here. We were together on Saturday through the second wave of cold weather.
Third
wave. Are we going to see a fourth wave?
No.
Great.
We're going to let the Super Bowl happen on 11Alive.
Sensational.
We're not going to cover it up. I can assure you that.
Let's clip that now and
we
put that
would
out.
have to have the worst blizzard in history to cover that game up on TV. But
Which
no,
we're not going to have.
we are not going to have. In fact, we're waiting to the thaw. That's what we're really watching for. And this is a live camera in Athens, where you can see we've got in the shaded areas still a little bit of snow on the ground there. We can also see in downtown Blue Ridge where the pavement itself is dry. We can see the asphalt, the blacktop, no problem. But in the shade and kind of on the sides of the road in the grassy areas, there's still a little bit of snow that is out there.
What a different picture, though. That Blue Ridge camera that we just had up, over the weekend when you and I were here on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a frigid little tundra up in Blue Ridge.
It was, and it was icy as the sun set, and we had a lot of spots with reforming black ice this morning, and I do think we could see a few more of those tomorrow, but the trend is we are thawing out. That is the trend we're working towards. So this map tells that story. Look at the 24-hour temperature change. We're running 12 degrees warmer in Atlanta than we were yesterday at this time, and 15 degrees warmer up in Dalton, 14 degrees warmer in Carrollton. So all this means is we're going up the roller coaster again. We're not going down. We've been at the bottom of the roller coaster. I don't know if our bottom's going to drop out that low until next winter. I hope not, but we'll see. 47 in Atlanta at the moment, and we've got 30 still North Georgia mountains, but as we head through the rest of the afternoon, we could climb up a couple more degrees. So we have the sunshine. That does a wonder for us, and we also have the temperatures all above freezing. Now, tomorrow, here's the next change coming in. There is a weather maker coming in here, but this time we're warm enough to where it is all rain. Look at that. 10 o'clock tomorrow evening, rain moving over North Georgia. That means we are warm. We are above freezing, and we like to see that after 3 back-to-back weekends of snow. If you still have snow on the ground tomorrow morning, this rain coming in is going to help to melt a lot of that away. Throughout tomorrow, throughout Wednesday, we are above freezing in all of North Georgia, essentially. So this rain coming in, plus the warmer air, I think is going to melt all of it in a pretty shorter amount of time than it took the ice to melt away. So I'll go a little closer on the forecast track. You can see by tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock, we're still dry in Atlanta. So the good news with this system is it's mostly after the evening commute, and it gets out of here before the Wednesday morning commute. But that'll bring some showers to the region. They could be pretty widespread for like 4 or 5 hours at your house, but this is light stuff. We're not talking about thunderstorms or anything like that. And then behind it, we don't see a huge temperature drop off. So we go from 50s on the way for tomorrow and Wednesday down to the 40s for Thursday, and then 50s again for Friday. And teaser, the weekend also looks not too bad.
Look at that.
Yeah.
This also, Melissa, you're the expert. I'm not, but from a layman's perspective, that looks a lot like a Georgia forecast.
Normal?
Yeah, not a lot of blue on these radars, not a lot of snow.
Not a huge anomaly. Not very cold outside. That's more typical for us in this time of year. We average 56 this time of year. So we'll take it, but as we'll talk about in the next half hour, Georgia's groundhog has something else to say about this warmer air that we have now.
Oh dear, yes he
and
did.
Will it stick around? So that's a teaser. It's coming up.
I got a lot of thoughts about the groundhogs, so we can discuss that.
The
coming
rodents?
Up. Well,
Whistle pigs?
well, let's put a little respect
Yeah.
on our groundhog friends. But we can discuss this, and we'll have a good discussion about this coming up in about half an hour. Melissa, thank you.
See you back in a bit.
All right, on that note, when we're talking about the weather and groundhogs and all that goes along with it, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center. You just heard Melissa Nord talking about the recap of all of this cold weather that we've experienced over the last few weeks here in Metro Atlanta. And we want to turn now to Milton Little, who is the president and CEO of the United Way of Greater Atlanta. Milton, first off, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it. And we understand that your organization, along with 11Alive and with Georgia Natural Gas, are all partnering on the Bundle Up for Good campaign. Let's start here. For somebody who's not familiar with that, what is the campaign's goal?
Our goal is to build awareness and also raise some money to address what's the outcome of the weather that we've seen. And the issue is a lot of people just don't have coats and are struggling this winter. And so we want to bring awareness to that and see how Georgians will decide how they can help.
How much need is out there?
Oh, it's a tremendous amount. There are about 820,000 working families across Metro Atlanta.
820,000?
Who struggle. So it's not just that they're working, but these are folks who work, and they work hard, sometimes multiple jobs, but they don't earn enough to pay all their bills. And in a time when it's really cold outside, they're making choices between, do I get a coat for my child, or do I pay to, keep the lights on and keep the fuel in the furnace?
The United Way gets up close with this kind of issue in your work. You're working to resolve this. But I wonder, do you get the sense sometimes the scope of the need, just here in Metro Atlanta, goes overlooked sometimes?
I don't know that many people know how much the need is. There's no reason why they would know, unless an organization like ours, which is a lighthouse for these kinds of things, shines light on the kinds of issues that many people don't experience but if they really scratch the surface, would find out that there are people that they know who are struggling, people who they depend on, whether it's somebody in the supermarket or somebody who cuts their lawn or cuts their hair. It's the essential workers that we all celebrated during the pandemic. Those are the folks who struggle the most.
How can people help if they want to help?
You could simply make a donation. BundleUpAtlanta.org will tell you all about what you can do. And it will tell you how much a $25 gift will provide, all the way up to, if you want to make $250 or more, what difference that gift will make.
And I think we have this slate up right now on our screen. Let's leave it up for a moment because there's a QR code you can scan as well to get all that information. Let's talk about this. If you are someone who is in a position to donate,
Sure.
You follow that link, you donate, you share. What does that money go towards?
Goes to help people afford a coat, buy a coat. They can put some food in a refrigerator. It can address the issues that people have, whether about making sure that there's the lights on. In the winter, when people are really struggling, they're making some really difficult choices. And this is an effort to try to mitigate some of those choices for the people, as I said, that we depend on for the lives we enjoy and who keep Atlanta rolling.
These are everyday necessities we're talking about.
Everyday necessities and everyday ordinary folks who struggle to put them on the table.
Are there, in your work, are there any memories in particular, conversations you've had with families who've received some help from folks who reach out, who donate, who want to help their neighbors who are going through it? Do you have any specific memories that stand out to you?
You know, I get stories all the time, both on the need, but also the difference that it makes. And I can think of families that now had food on the table when they were really trying to just make ends meet. I can think of those working families who have called me and said, you know, here's what a gift has made, the difference it's made to our families. And you think about little kids. They ought not be required to stand waiting for the school bus in a summer jacket when it's as cold as it was last week.
Let me ask you two last questions here because I know your time is precious and you got to get back to doing the good work that you're doing. But that number that you described earlier, more than 800,000 families in greater Atlanta who have some kind of need.
Right.
Do you have a sense of how that stacks up to other metro areas across the country? How is Atlanta faring compared to other parts of the country?
So that number would represent somewhere between 35 and 40% of working families. And that number is pretty consistent across the nation. It's pretty consistent across the region.
35 to 40%?
40% of working families. So, you know, people spend a lot of time thinking about the folks who just meet the federal definition of poverty. They don't think about the people that blow leaves in your yard. They don't think about manicurists. They don't think about the folks who work in ordinary hourly jobs. Those are the folks who really are the ones who struggle the most, just trying to make sure they got child care, a reliable car with gas in it, and a stable place to live.
Let's end here in an important question, so I want to give you the floor on this. Your closing message to somebody who might be watching this, listening in, and thinking about making that donation, your message to that person would be what?
Is it impossible for you to think about helping somebody with a $25 gift?
I think we'll end it there. Milton Little, President and CEO of the United Way of Greater Atlanta. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Zach.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to turn now with our thanks to the United Way once again, and you can still see this slate up. If you want to donate, you can see that QR code on your screen. Take out your phone, scan it, and you can get all the information on Bundle Up for Good campaign. It's a partnership with 11Alive, Georgia Natural Gas, and the United Way of Greater Atlanta. As we head to break, a look ahead on what's on the other side. We're continuing to track the weather story, and a forecast that we are told by Melissa Nord, our meteorologist, is warmer than what we've seen over the last few weekends, which is good news. We're also keeping a close eye on some legislation in the city of Atlanta, taking a look at the Edgewood Safety Task Force. All of that right after the break. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center, where we have a live look into an ongoing City of Atlanta council meeting right now. You see public comment is underway. We are tracking some developments at this city council meeting. Joining us now, Grace King, who has been following what we're talking about here, and we're talking about the Edgewood Task Force, the safety task force. Grace, can we maybe start here for people who perhaps are not familiar with what this task force is? Bring us up to speed on where we are.
Well, so last summer we saw a mass shooting on July 28th. 10 people were wounded, another died. And city leaders were basically looking at this saying, this is unacceptable, something needs to change. So in August, they started this task force, the Edgewood Corridor Public Safety Task Force, to just basically look at everything going on in the neighborhood. So they pulled calls for service, they pulled just signage, past citations, past problem areas, started looking at things like parking lots and party houses, all of these different things to say, what is going wrong, what is working well, and how can we kind of take the things that are working well and get rid of the things that aren't working.
Kind of a comprehensive look at the larger safety ecosystem in the area, right?
Absolutely. So there's certain things that you've maybe seen in other parts of Atlanta that haven't been implemented here yet. There were some seemingly small things that they noticed, like they don't have signs saying that you can't just cruise through the area over and over again. You can't enforce things that aren't posted. So there's certain things like that. The Edgewood Avenue corridor didn't have one of those APD public safety cameras that you've seen maybe elsewhere in the city. So some of those were pretty easy to get in place. We went out there earlier today and that camera is already up there. We don't know yet. They're trying to figure out if it's working and functional, but that's something they were able to kind of spring into action pretty quickly.
And so today at the Atlanta City Council meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, but the findings of this task force have been compiled and they're going to be presented for a vote on whether to adopt those findings or not. Is that right?
Correct. So they have 10 priority recommendations. Some of those are short-term things. So like the signage I mentioned, that's pretty easy. They're trying to see if they can maybe pause new liquor licenses. They can figure out compliance issues, that kind of thing in the area. Some of them are more medium term, and then they have long-term goals. So some of those long-term goals, the city has an office of nightlife. So they might put a satellite office maybe in the Edgewood Avenue corridor. They might put satellite offices elsewhere in the city too, but they're really looking at it in that Edgewood Avenue corridor. Of course, that's something that's not going to happen overnight. That's how it goes on the long-term solution list, but kind of a mix of opportunity.
I have two questions on this. The first is at the city council level. Do you have a sense of which way the council is likely to vote on this?
It passed unanimously out of the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee, so almost certainly it'll get passed out of there today.
And that vote, again, is set to happen at some point during this Atlanta City Council meeting that we've been monitoring in real time here. Grace, another question. We talked about the city council perspective on this, but I wonder if you have a sense of what residents and business owners in the Edgewood area think about this task force.
Well, I think that's the more important part of this conversation. So, of course, the task force has some people from the city on it, but it's really community driven. I spoke with one woman earlier, Dorothy Hurst. She says she and some other community leaders were actually trying to start their own task force, if you will, before the shooting happened. Take a listen to what she told me once that shooting happened.
Once the shooting happened, I reached out to the COO of the city and our city council person, and I said, this is more than unpaid volunteers could do. We need a task force. That was on that Monday. Mayor was there on Friday. We had the task force by Monday because it was absolutely necessary. Everyone thinks that the police can fix everything, but they can't. They have a part, but Edgewood needed a holistic, strategic look. You have to sometimes audit neighborhoods, and that's what we needed.
Edgewood Avenue corridor. Dorothy lives not too far from there, but she says everything that happens on Edgewood, it affects Georgia State, it affects the rest of Edgewood, all of those surrounding neighborhoods. Something's not just isolated to one street or one business or that area. It affects the whole community. And she said that's why they were asking all the different community members for their input. She was, again, leading kind of a small, informal task force, and then once this happened, kind of took the charge and put something more formal into place.
So obviously from that conversation, Dorothy, I'm sure other folks who feel similarly, are excited to see this progress happening at the task force. Did you get a sense from her or maybe some other folks if they think the task force's results will lead to actual tangible change?
They hope so. I've talked to a lot of the business owners there in the past, and they've said, it's really hard for them to see, they comply with their liquor licenses. They shut down at a certain time. If you look at the crime logs with a lot of these things happening, it's really late at night, past closing hours. They say, we all get that bad rep. We maybe don't all deserve that bad rep. So they want more policing. They want more cameras. They want more of this action to kind of not give them that they don't want to be painted with one stroke. They want to be kind of separated out from that. So a lot of them were hopeful that maybe some of these more enforcement actions, maybe some of these more monitoring actions would give them that kind of separation they needed to be able to point and say, this is where the problem is, here's what we need to fix, instead of just Edgewood's a problem.
And you can be sure they're going to be watching to see how this vote goes at City Council. The meeting, again, underway right now. It's not the only Atlanta, Fulton County, more broadly, issue that you've been following today, Grace. Obviously, we saw the FBI execute a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub last week. Today, you have been in touch with some local leaders in Fulton County on some potential follow-up to that.
Absolutely. So the FBI currently has possession of all of Fulton County's 2020 ballots, as far as we know. The FBI told us on scene that they're be taken to Virginia, but we've had a lot of concern from local leaders about what will happen to those ballots, if they're safe, where they're actually going, what will be done with them. We heard from Chairman Pitts last week where he said, as long as those ballots were in Fulton County custody, they were safe. We know they wouldn't be tampered with. We know they wouldn't be added or subtracted. He said that was no longer the case. He didn't know if those ballots would somehow be tampered with in FBI custody, and obviously the county wants those ballots back. They belong to the county. They've been, in safe possession since 2020. They have been going on a separate court battle in Fulton County Superior Court to maybe give copies of those to the state election board, but at no point did they intend to ever give up the physical ballots. This morning, Commissioner Marvin Arrington, he told us that the county was considering filing a motion to try and recoup those ballots, get them back from the FBI. But this afternoon, Chairman Pitts told me that would not be the case. This is something that is very intricate, very complicated, and they want to take their time to kind of sit here and make sure they're making the right decision, so there will not be anything filed today.
Do you, and I'm glad you brought that up because I know there was a little bit of a question mark on whether this suit would be filed today or not. It sounds like from your reporting, not the case today. Have you gotten a sense of whether Fulton County still intends to file some legal challenge to this search warrant at some point down the road?
They're considering their options, but we just don't know. It was going to be just a motion in that sealed court case earlier. There was a lot of questions about Fulton County doesn't know if they're the target of this investigation. They can't access the sealed court case in federal court. They don't know how to, even look and see if this is something into Fulton County, if this is something into a voting system they use. They have no idea. So even filing a motion into a sealed case where they don't know anything about it was going to be kind of complicated. So they're just taking their time, considering all their options and looking at what might be best.
You bring up Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts, who has expressed some real frustration about how this all played out, both in conversations with you and in a conversation with us here on 11Alive Plus on Friday. We have a little bit of that conversation we had with the chairman on Friday teed up. Let's listen in to what he had to say right now.
When there was all of these allegations about wrongdoing, people wanting to come here, Donald Trump wanting to come here, then Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then Representative Mark Gates from Florida, all coming here. I told them to stay the hell out of Fulton County. We know what we're doing here. And I said it then and I say it today, that there has been no wrongdoing. Is there a possibility for an error by one human, two humans? Absolutely. Is there a possibility of some mechanical failures? Absolutely. But some widespread conspiracy, underhanded effort to control an election, it never happened. So reviewing the ballots that were taken by the FBI on Thursday night, they won't find anything unless something happens to those ballots that I'm not aware of.
So again, that's Fulton County Commission Chair Rob Pitts expressing some frustration, to say the least, and defending, in his view, Fulton County's conduct, overseeing the 2020 election here in Fulton County. Grace, I know you've been in close contact with the chairman and others in the Fulton County Commission. We're short on time, but any thoughts that you think our audience should know from a sort of macro level on how this is all playing out and where it might go?
Well, Fulton County, I mean, Commissioner Pitts, or Chairman Pitts, rather, this is what he texted me earlier. Democracy itself is on the line, and we will take whatever time we need to get it right. And I think that just about sums it up. He was saying, you know, they've counted these ballots time and time again. He strongly believes there is nothing wrong with the way the county handled their 2020 election, but just seeing this whole process unfold the way he put it, democracy is on the line. And that's really, I think, what all county leaders are kind of in agreement.
And it's worth pointing out as well, too, this is in the lead up to the May primaries. We are in a midterm election year. Georgia was at the center of a real whirlwind, a tsunami following the 2020 election. And now the same themes are once again playing a big role in the race for governor. Some Senate candidates have been bringing it up as well. So if you live in Georgia and you thought 2020 was in the past, it is going to be, once again, a big issue in this 2026 midterm race. Grace King, thank you very much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and then shortly afterward, we're going to hear once again from meteorologist Melissa Nord with a look at the forecast. And a reminder, today is Groundhog Day, so you can hear what Melissa thinks about the forecasting abilities of a couple of very famous groundhogs. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center on Groundhog Day. It's February 2nd, and it feels a little bit like Groundhog Day because we have Melissa Nord back with us again, who has been in here keeping us ahead of all the weather that we've been talking about. It's been cold, it's been chilly.
I think of Bill Murray at this moment.
It feels a little bit like the movie, doesn't it?
Yes.
It was cold, it was chilly, and then
Yes.
our friends, the two very famous groundhogs today, went out and did a little forecasting. Melissa,
thing.
what did they tell us? And then also, I know you have some strong thoughts on
Well,
their forecasting ability.
It's always fun. Let's first watch the video, though, because everybody hears about Puxatawny Phil, right? But we actually have our own groundhog here in Georgia, General Beauregard Lee, or Bo, as we like to call him. And this is what he had to say this morning.
View. 6 more weeks of winter, now patiently wait.
So I like that we don't have men in random tall hats as much when we do our groundhog down here?
You know, I mean, it is part of the. I was born in
tradition.
Pennsylvania. I can't rat out Punxsutawney Phil here.
It's a party.
Or the hats. I did like that Beauregard came out, and that may have been just the way it was edited, but he came out, he saw his shadow, he delivered, and he said, I'm going back to my house.
Yes.
And he just walked right back in.
It's a little too cold for him.
Yeah. It might be a little too cold for us. I got to be honest, I wasn't thrilled with this prediction of more winter. I feel like
Right.
we've gotten our fill.
And both, Beauregard Lee and Phil did predict 6 more weeks of winter. I do have some groundhog facts, though, Zach, for
All right,
you.
we're ready. I'm eager.
Did you know they are the largest? My facts aren't on this page, Gabby, just so you know. Those are the accuracy. I am going to get to that in a second.
It's
Did
a
you
cute
know?
picture of that little groundhog, though.
Spring, winter. Groundhogs are the largest member of the squirrel family. They're really
I
the
did not know
squirrels.
that.
Except they don't like burrow their nuts under the ground. They just like a bunch of vegetables. But they're also known as whistle pigs. Do you know why?
Is that true?
Not the bourbon, but they're known as whistle pigs.
Okay, tell me why.
Because the sound that they make from their teeth sounds like a whistle. So they're called whistle pigs way back when, pre-industrial revolution. I think that's what they were called. But now every time that I see a bottle of whistle pig, I think of groundhogs.
Do you think of Punxsutawney or Beauregard?
Bo.
Yeah.
He has this beautiful, house.
It is nice. Dawson,
like an
if you've ever been, Dawson
antebellum
is a
mansion.
really nice little kind of animal site.
And he's a little more accurate. They say, folks from the South, we're maybe not as smart, but we are. Phil is much better, or rather, Bo is much better than Phil. All right, here are the numbers on the groundhog accuracy. I want to show you the top 4 first. Staten Island Chuck from New York,
Who?
he takes the top place. Staten Island Chuck,
What?
85% accurate. This is
come on.
according to NOAA from the last 20 years. Then we have Lil Lander. Like, Lil Lander, is he Lil Wayne? Lil
This is,
Bebe? Lil Lander.
Okay.
Like, I think Little House on the Prairie, maybe. Lil
Lil
Land
Wyoming.
on the Prairie. Lil Wyoming, 80%. And then Bo comes in at number 3. He's 75% accurate. Concord Charlie from West Virginia is 70% over the last 20 years. But Phil, 35. So we really embrace this just prognosticating rodent who's not accurate at all, but that's what we do every year because it's tradition and it's fun. And then 3 days later, there's Weather Person's Day, so we make it up. They say, we're sorry for worshiping a rodent. We
give
thank
'em a
you,
day.
meteorologists.
Give them a day. I have a question. Can we back up in this graphic one? Are you allowed to go
Sure.
backward?
Yeah, I can go back.
we see the full list of these folks?
Oh, that's just 5 of them. There's like
I-
20 that they track.
This may send me to the abyss of the internet somewhere, but
Mm-hmm.
are these all, I know Phil, obviously, and I know Bo, are all these other groundhogs, Concord
Worshipped?
Charlie, Staten Island Chuck, these are all real groundhogs out there?
They are.
This feels like one of those things where you put it up and say, one of these is not real.
I think they probably make local news in their town.
I bet. Well, they're making news here in Atlanta. So,
Well,
job
they're
accomplished.
accurate, so you got to give it to them.
So your beef is not so much with the groundhogs, it's with the inaccurate ones.
Yeah, you know what? It's fun, but they're never going to be as accurate. And then, people, they trust their stupid weather apps on their phone. They also trust the groundhogs. And you should trust a meteorologist instead.
When is Weather Person's Day? 3 days from now?
Yeah.
If we could interview a groundhog, if we brought Phil in here, maybe we could interview him on Weather Person's
Will
Day.
he
and
eat
see
Bluebell
if
ice
the
cream
beef
in front
goes
of
both
everybody?
ways. You know what? I was excited to see what they had to say today.
It's fun.
But I hope they're wrong.
I'm going to go watch the movie tonight.
Let's. I might do that too. Melissa, that is not only, it wasn't just a
No.
rodent segment here, although that was very fun. We have a little early preparing to be doing today.
Yes, we do. And I'll just show you, through February, we have likely cold temperatures, but February 1st, the first week of February, also marks Severe Weather Preparedness Week here in Georgia. And it's hard to think about because we've been so cold, but the fact of the matter is that we get severe weather every single month of the year. In fact, January can be a wild card for us. If we're not tracking snow and ice, we're usually tracking severe weather because it's either like 70 degrees outside or it's 30 degrees outside, it seems like. But these are the topics that are through the week. And, we're not going to spend a lot of time on them because it's just February 1st and it's cold outside, but it's a good week to remember that severe weather can happen any time of year. So on Family Preparedness Day today, what's your go kit that you need if you have to evacuate in the case of a hurricane? But also family preparedness goes to where are you going to shelter if you've got to get shelter from severe weather? And, do you have flashlights and do you have batteries? I think we're good on that because we just went through some ice storms.
Yeah.
But you might be surprised to know that the top weather-related killer is actually not storms. It's heat every year, the last couple of years, 10 years, 30 years across the country. But tornadoes, that varies depending on our severe weather. We've had about 86 back in 2023, and the 30-year average there, about 69 tornado fatalities in the United States. So we'll talk more about that throughout the week, Zach.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to have some fun with Groundhog Day, but it's also Severe Weather Preparedness Week. Wednesday will be the big tornado drill day, unless the rain kind of throws it off. They don't like to do the tornado drill in all the schools when there's also rain, because then people get scared that it's actually going to be a tornado.
And we did have that fun conversation about the groundhogs, which was fun. But this is an important topic, and I know you've got to go, but I if I can just underscore what you are saying, especially if you're somebody who's maybe new to the South, new to Georgia, and you don't come from a place that sees the kind of severe weather that we do. I remember when I moved down here years ago, it was jarring, the first tornado season that I was here for. I was really glad that I listened to folks like yourself saying, make your plan now, get the batteries, get the radio, know where you have to go if you need to, God forbid, go to the safe place in your home.
So you're not panicking.
Yeah, having
like
that plan in
nature,
advance
right?
really does make a big difference because these storms are nothing to take lightly.
And our peak of tornado season's March, April, May.
So we're coming right up on it.
But they can happen any time of year. I mean, February not as common, but they can happen any time of year. Sometimes we just get these squall lines where they're weak little tornadoes. But when we get into March, April, and May, we can get those bigger supercells. So, that's what we'll be going through this week, all the different topics, hail safety, flood safety, all of that. But today, think about what kits do you need at your house and make sure that your family knows if there is a severe thunderstorm or something where you need to take shelter, where are you going to go in your house?
Melissa Nord, with some very important advice ahead, and we're going to continue to listen to you as you give us all those updates throughout the week. And whenever severe weather does roll in the months to come, we know you guys are going to be on top of it.
And streaming a lot. We got that secondary channel here on 11Alive Plus. We can stream weather graphics and do extended coverage anytime we want.
And you guys do a great job at it, just like you did through these past couple weeks. Melissa Nord, thank you very much. All right, we're going to turn now to another story that we continue to track out of the nation's capital. The United States is now in a partial government shutdown. It began Friday night at midnight. The U.S. Senate passed a package of spending bills that would fully reopen the government, but it is still making its way through the House. House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican, said Sunday on Meet the Press that he expects that package to come up for a vote tomorrow in the House, but this is still a moving situation. Our John Lorink reports.
The U.S. starts a new week without Washington, D.C. running at full throttle.
The question mark over a government shutdown is certainly a big one and a political problem, really for both parties, but certainly for Republicans right now, as the polling is showing a great deal more pressure on them.
On Tuesday, the House is expected to vote on the funding package that passed through the Senate last week.
Because of the conversation I had with Hakeem Jeffries, I know that we've got to pass a rule and probably do this mostly on our own. I think that's very unfortunate.
The legislation backs most government agencies through much of the year, except the Department of Homeland Security, which will only get funded for 2 weeks while lawmakers work to reform DHS's immigration operations.
Body cameras should be mandatory. Masks should come off. Judicial warrants should absolutely be required, consistent with the Constitution in our view, before DHS agents or ICE agents are breaking into the homes of the American people or ripping people out of their cars.
This partial government shutdown is expected to last until at least Tuesday, while Washington, D.C. tries to come to some sort of agreement.
So I think it's all of our responsibilities to reopen the government.
I'm not just a no, I'm a firm no, and I'm going to advocate with colleagues that they vote no.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
So we continue to track this situation out of the nation's capital. You heard John break down the macro level of how we got here. Another important piece of information, if you're wondering what is currently funded and what is not, much of the government is currently funded. Congress passed funding legislation for much of the rest of the government through September. The few agencies that are at the center of this partial shutdown are aspects of the federal government, such as the Pentagon, and agencies like the Transportation Department and the Department of Homeland Security, which has become the real flashpoint of this funding conversation. Important to note here, too, if this package of funding bills that's in front of the House right now, if it is passed, it would fund the government. It would only fund DHS for 2 more weeks at current levels, opening up a 2-week window for lawmakers to debate the role of the Department of Homeland Security and federal immigration enforcement agents, particularly after the flashpoint in Minneapolis erupted over recent weeks as Operation Metro Surge continues there. Federal immigration agents fatally shot 2 people, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and that became the catalyst for this debate point in Congress. We will continue to follow where this goes, and we'll be watching for that potential vote tomorrow in the House. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center. We are following an ongoing cold case murder trial out of Athens, Clark County. It's underway right now in Clark County Superior Court. If you've been with us for the last hour, you have seen us taking live looks into the courtroom. The live feed is now down. That is not uncommon. The live feed has been instructed to go down when the court is in recess. But let's get you up to speed on what this case and who this case is about. This is a cold case. Tara Baker is a 23-year-old UGA law student who was found dead in 2001. Authorities have now accused Edric Faust of committing the murder. Faust has pleaded not guilty. Now, his trial in this murder case, scheduled to start today, it was delayed by a few hours this morning. Opening statements were backed up because several jurors did not show up this morning. That's according to Law and Crime Network, who is serving as the pool video camera in this trial. A note from them today said things got off to a delayed start because of a few jurors. Opening statements did begin around lunchtime today. We continue to monitor that live feed. Like we said, the live feed is currently down because court is likely in recess. But we want to take you now to some comments made earlier today inside that Clark County Superior Court.
And so again, with all this investigation going on and no leads being developed, the case goes cold. Something happened that changed all of that in 2023. Something called the Coleman-Baker Act was signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp. In case you hadn't figured out, the Baker part of that act is named after Tara. This is a law designed to address cases exactly like this one, where all leads have been exhausted and no likely perpetrator has been identified. What the law does is it directs new eyes to be placed on the file. See if all appropriate forensic testing and analysis was done in the first instance, or if additional testing might produce evidence or information relevant to the investigation. And so at this point, enter into our story Agents Liz Bigham and Jeremy Howell with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Agent Bigham, Agent Howell are longtime agents with the GBI, and they joined that cold case unit after the law was enacted. In December of 23, they started looking at this case. And one of the first things they did was a dogged re-examination of all the physical evidence in Tara's case.
So you just heard from inside the Clark County Superior Courthouse, remarks made just a few hours ago, if that, from the opening statements, the beginning of this cold case murder trial, the case in the killing of Tara Baker, again, a 23-year-old University of Georgia law student who was killed in 2001. Authorities have accused Edric Faust of that crime. He's pleaded not guilty. His trial, as you just saw, it's underway right now. Opening statements have begun. It's expected, we are told, all in, the trial could take several weeks. We will continue to monitor, as we have all day long right here on 11Alive Plus, us on the Plus app, on streaming, 11Alive News, on television, our website. The whole team is tracking this case, and will continue to do so for as long as it takes over these next few weeks to track the outcome in this case, more than 25 years following the death of that 23-year-old UGA law student, Tara Baker. Now, this is not the only story we are following today, and regrettably, we have to report once again on a tragedy out of Gwinnett County. Over the weekend, 2 Gwinnett County police officers were shot in what officials called a, quote, an unprovoked attack. One officer, 25-year-old Pradeep Tamang, was killed. Another, Master Police Officer David Reed, shot multiple times, reportedly in serious but stable condition, according to Gwinnett County Police Department. Our Molly Oak has been covering this case. She has a report right now.
Yeah, just one of the notes on the car says, "Rest easy, friend." Bouquet after bouquet have been placed on the police car outside Gwinnett County Police Headquarters this morning as the entire community is remembering the officer we lost yesterday. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says the suspect is now facing 4 different charges. The GBI is taking on the lead, and the investigation says it happened just before 8 o'clock yesterday morning when 2 officers, Officer Pradeep Tamang and Master Police Officer David Reed, responded to a Holiday Inn off East Park Place Boulevard to investigate a reported credit card theft. The GBI says when officers went in the room and tried to arrest Andrews after officers learned he had an active warrant for failure to appear, Andrews pulled out a gun, shooting both officers and killing Officer Tamang. Now the GBI says Andrews is facing multiple charges, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. This morning I spoke with a woman who works on the 911 admin staff and is married to a Gwinnett County police officer. She knows Officer Tamang, saying he was always kind and will be so missed.
Having to see my husband go back out there and do the shift that Tamang was on it's very gut-wrenching and very terrifying. But as a police wife, you kind of sign up for the gut-wrenching and the heart pounding, just hoping that your loved one will come home and hoping that they'll be there at the end of the day and they get to come home and see you and you get to hug them. I think it's just a reminder to hug your loved ones.
This morning we watched as the police officer stepped outside of headquarters and lowered the flag to half staff. It's just a reminder of the solemn feeling that the community has this morning as they're remembering Officer Tamang. I've also watched countless people come by this police car and just lay a hand, put their head down in prayer, and walk on. And that's exactly what the chief is asking for today. The chief and others asking for the community to wrap their arms around the police department and also the families of both officers. At last check, Officer Reed, who was also shot and injured, is still in the hospital in critical condition. Guys.
Our Molly Oak reporting in Gwinnett County on this tough story. Reaction and heartfelt messages, of course, pouring in. Let's read you a few of them. This is from Gwinnett County Commission Chair Nicole Love Hendrickson, who called the shooting a devastating loss and wrote, quote, "Our hearts are with the families of Officer Pradeep Tamang and with MPO David Reed, their loved ones, and the entire Gwinnett County Police Department during this incredibly difficult time. We honor the service and sacrifice of those who selflessly put themselves in harm's way to protect our community. We are deeply grateful for their continued dedication. We stand united with our officers, their families, and all of you as we navigate this challenging time together." United States Senator John Ossoff also reacting to the shooting of these two Gwinnett County police officers, writing in a statement today, quote, "I join all Georgians in grieving Gwinnett County Police Officer Pradeep Tamang, whose life was taken this weekend serving our state in the line of duty, and I wish Corporal David Reed a full recovery from his injuries. My prayers are with Officer Tamang and Corporal Reed's families, the Gwinnett County Police Department, and all law enforcement personnel who keep our communities safe." Those are just a few of the statements that have been coming in reaction to this shooting. And as Molly mentioned, the suspect in this case, 35-year-old Kevin Andrews, was also shot in the exchange between law enforcement and himself. Reportedly non-life-threatening injuries for Andrews. He's now facing multiple charges. This is a case that we will continue to follow. Again, if you're just joining us, 2 Gwinnett County police officers shot over the weekend. Officer David Reed, Master Police Officer David Reed, in serious but stable condition, according to police. Officer Pradeep Tamang, 25 years old, killed in the line of duty over the weekend. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. I'm Zach Merchant at 3:01 p.m. on Monday, February 2nd. We're tracking some big stories for you right now. One, an ongoing cold case murder trial in Clark County Superior Court. That's the case, the killing of Tara Baker, a 23-year-old University of Georgia law student killed in 2001. Prosecutors now say they believe they know who committed the crime. The opening statements in that case, that murder case, began just a short time ago. We continue to track that case. Also today was Truck Day. The Atlanta Braves getting ready for spring training. We'll have a check-in with our Reggie Chapman in just a few minutes on the Braves prospects at the beginning of the season. Everybody is hopeful. Lots of Atlanta hoping for a good season for the Braves. And right now, at this hour, we are waiting for the beginning of a swearing-in ceremony for Dr. Douglas Hendricks Sr. as the interim superintendent of Clayton County Public Schools. This swearing-in set to begin in any moment here. He replaces the outgoing superintendent, Dr. Anthony Smith. Smith retired on February 1st. Hendricks previously served in the district as the senior deputy superintendent and as the chief of staff. And according to a release from Clayton County Public Schools, Hendricks has more than 30 years of experience in public education, the vast majority of those years, 26 of them, in Clayton County. We should emphasize here, if you are a parent or a student of somebody in the Clayton County Public School system, Dr. Hendricks is being sworn in an interim capacity. The school district says they continue to hold a search for a permanent superintendent. This is a quote from some of their press release. They said, having served Clayton County Public Schools in multiple senior leadership roles, Dr. Hendricks has a strong understanding of the district's people, priorities, and community. His steady, thoughtful leadership and firsthand knowledge of CCPS positions him well to provide continuity and stability during this transition. Clayton County Public Schools remains committed to transparency and collaboration throughout this process and looks forward to continued partnership with families, employees, and community stakeholders as the district enters this next phase of leadership. Again, if you're just tuning in, you see what we are seeing right now. We're waiting for the start of the swearing-in ceremony for the new interim superintendent in Clayton County. The next step in Clayton County Public Schools, finding their next permanent superintendent. We'll keep a close eye on that live feed when it opens up. In the meantime, meteorologist Melissa Nord is back with us once again. Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
It's good to see you again.
You're mentioning spring training.
Spring training.
Warm thoughts.
Lots of warm thought. It's definitely going to be warm where the Braves go.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
Nice in Florida. You know what? We're thawing out. We are making some progress today. We're running about 15 degrees warmer than yesterday afternoon, and we're also watching our live cameras. The snow is melting a bit.
We love that. Look at this. That's a place I know well.
You love it if you're a parent. If you're a child, you're saying, no, I don't want to go back to school tomorrow.
Snow days are the best.
That's Athens, and you can still see, a little bit of snow there in the shaded areas. Also, downtown Blue Ridge, we saw a lot more snow at first thing this morning and even some icy spots. A lot of that snow is melting away, but still it's in the shaded areas where we're probably still seeing some of this snow first thing tomorrow morning. And you know what? This weekend was a matter of the haves and have-nots in terms of snowfall. We had some heavy banding on the far eastern suburbs through Jackson County and northern Gwinnett County, Forsyth County, and up to the north of there, and you can see some of these amounts. Buford, 6 inches of snow. Eastern Forsyth County, 3.5. 4 inches in Jeffersonville. And here are some of those other bigger totals. Commerce, 6 inches. There were even some spots out in Oglethorpe County that picked up about 7 inches of snowfall. But now we are thawing out across North Georgia, not quite as frigid cold. Our alert has expired this afternoon, 40s, and we'll see 50s on the way tomorrow and Wednesday. But with the warmer weather will also come our next chance of rain, so we'll time that out coming up. And here are the numbers. This map is your 24-hour temperature change graphic. I love this on a day like today because we're in the yellow and the orange. We're not in the blue and the purple. That means that it's a lot warmer than it was yesterday afternoon by really 10 to 15 degrees depending on where you are. So we're already up to 49 in Atlanta. It's amazing what a west or a northwest wind can do in sunshine for us with dry air. It warms us up and it shoots us up sometimes over where the models show. So a couple of us are hitting 50 today. We're still in the 30s in the mountains, but that cold air is gradually retreating outside this afternoon, and we'll see even more of that retreat happening the next couple of days. But with the warmer air will come our next chance of rain. It does not look like much on satellite and radar now, but there's a little weather system back by the Four Corners in southern Texas, and that's going to gather a lot of moisture from the Gulf as we head into tomorrow. So watch the forecast track. Nothing now, bam, tomorrow. We pull in that moisture off the Gulf, and that brings us a solid kind of sheet of lighter rain tomorrow evening, overnight, and as we head into first thing on Wednesday morning. It will be clearing out by the end of Wednesday, but I'll just show you the impact for tomorrow evening's commute, and that is just in northwest Georgia. I mean, we're still dry here in the metro at 5 o'clock, but if you don't commute home until 6 or 7, you might need the umbrella, and then that rain comes through overnight, and most of it is out by first thing on Wednesday morning. So we can be thankful to say this is an all-rain system and not a snowfall system for us. Kind of a quarter to a half an inch of rain coming with that. And then the other big story of the day is, the groundhogs. They predicted 6 more weeks of winter, but Zach, the next 5 days for us don't look that cold. Cools down a little bit Thursday in the 40s, but even into Friday and the weekend, it's going to be a little bit more typical for us this time of year. So we're talking 50s, some dry days in a row to get outside and finally enjoy a little bit of weather.
Good. We like that.
Yeah.
We like good news in the streaming center here. We like the groundhogs too.
I think
but
parents.
But if they can be wrong, this would be a good thing for them to be wrong.
It would be good. But I think it'll be great for parents to finally have a weekend to kick the kids out of the house and say, go play outside with your friends.
You have 2 little ones.
Yes.
I feel like this is coming from experience here.
Oh, we had to go to an indoor playground yesterday because they were driving us so crazy.
I bet they had fun.
Oh, they had a blast. We'll see what germs we picked up 3 days later.
Wow.
But yeah, this weekend we've got a big game on TV. It's going to be 50s and dry both days, so you can make the kids play outside a bit.
And you know what? I think we earned it. I think all of us in Atlanta and Metro Atlanta and North Georgia deserve a break.
We do. We need a break. We need a weekend.
Thank you, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to turn now to this live feed out of Clayton County. We told you we were watching it. This is the beginning of the swearing-in ceremony for the new interim superintendent of the Clayton County School District. Let's take a listen.
This momentous occasion. I will now introduce our distinguished guests, starting with our Clayton County Board of Education. Please stand when your name is called. Mr. Benjamin Straker, Board Chairman, District 9. Miss Mary Baker, Vice Chair, District 6. Miss Jasmine Bowles, District 1. Mr. Mark Christmas, District 2. Dr. Jesse Goree, District 3. Miss Victoria Williams, District 4. Dr. Beatrice D. Haney, District 5. Miss Sabrina Hill, District 7. And Miss Joy Tellis Cooper, District 8. Thank you, Clayton County Board of Education. At this time, I would like to acknowledge other elected or appointed officials. Please stand to be acknowledged. Judge Malone, thank you. Are there any Clayton County Public Schools Foundation members present? I know I saw Mitch Johnson earlier. Hello. Thank you all. Faith-based leaders. Thank you. Community business leaders and business partners. Former and current superintendents. Our very own Dr. Anthony W. Smith. Core cabinet members, please stand at this time. And the family and friends of our honoree, Dr. Douglas Hendricks Sr., if you would stand to be recognized for your support and for being here. Excellent. Wow. And I also would like to acknowledge our educators, our staff, and our remarkable students and their families. Everyone's present this evening really speaks to the volume of momentum and support that will carry us forth. At this time, I would like to invite our chairman, Mr. Benjamin Straker, to bring formal remarks on behalf of the Board of Education. Following Chairman Straker, we will follow the program as printed. We will hear from Dr. Cynthia Anderson, who's a longtime friend and colleague of Dr. Hendricks. And following Dr. Anderson, we will hear from Dr. Hendricks' lovely wife, Dr. Chateau Hendricks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. I'd like to welcome everybody. First of all, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody on behalf of the entire Board of Education to this momentum swearing of Dr. Douglas Hendricks. Before I move on to Dr. Hendricks, I want to thank our retiring superintendent, Dr. Anthony Smith. Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith has done a fantastic job in building our infrastructure, building partnerships, and bringing the spotlight back to Clayton County. So he's leaving this district in very good hands. So thanks once again, Dr. Smith. And now let me move on to my friend, Dr. Douglas Hendricks. Dr. Hendricks, I have a question for you before I get started. Do you recall in October 2017? You do recall it. Okay, I thought you would have forgot it. October 2017, I was on the board for 2 years. Very green to understanding education. Didn't know too much about it. All I knew is that I was hearing rumors that one of the employees of Clayton County Public Schools was being recruited by a neighboring county. He was the sole finalist at the time that I seen this. He was the sole finalist for Henry County Public Schools. And I remember not knowing him very well. I remember getting in my car and going out to Henry County because they were having a town hall meeting and they were introducing this sole finalist to the Henry County Public School system. It was extremely exciting. I remember Dr. Hendricks stood up and the crowd was bigger than the one that we're sitting in here now with. And I remember his speech. And I'm truly not trying to be corny, but I remember the speech was sounding so Obama-like. And I remember when he was speaking, they had asked him a question about what was the difference between an African-American child and a white child. And I never forget the response that he gave back. He says, "I'm here for all God's children." I remember him saying that. And I remember saying to myself, wow, this is really big. Somebody from Clayton County Public Schools is going to be the next superintendent of Henry County. Politics got in our way, and Dr. Hendricks did not get that job. And I remember just the other day, I was thinking about this, and I remember having my conversation with God. And as I was having my little conversation with God, I remember asking him this question over and over in my life. Why do you do certain things? Why do certain things happen? And I always realized that God doesn't need me to understand that at that moment. But now things are so clear to me. He didn't get that job because he belonged here. And he's going to transition us into what we need to do. Dr. Hendricks, and this is my last story, and I promise you I'll move on. Dr. Hendricks, the funniest story, I don't know if he would appreciate me telling this story, but I remember my fiance having a conversation with me about Dr. Hendricks. And, you know, I'm a dude's dude, so I'm talking to her and I'm hanging out. And she talked about a fight that had broke out in our district. And as this fight broke out, Dr. Hendricks was responsible. I think he was at Adamson at that time. He was responsible for breaking up this fight. My fiance says to me, hey, it was chaotic there. And Dr. Hendricks was pulling kids off. And then she looked to the right and she seen Dr. Hendricks and there was tears coming out of his eyes. And she said to me, that proves to you that his priority are our children. These next 90 days that we're going to live with Dr. Hendricks, I'm promising each and every one of you that his focus is going to be laser focused on children, academics, and instruction. And that's our core business. And he's going to prove to you how you do that best. This guy calls me at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and he has conversations about what his vision is going to look like over these next 90 days. People, we are in great hands in this transition. And I appreciate Dr. Smith for setting this thing up for Dr. Hendricks to come and show us what superior education is going to look like. Thank you very much.
To Chairman Straker, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Smith, I don't have to call you about accreditation anymore. Educators, family members, and friends, it is indeed an opportunity and honor to speak before you this afternoon. Dr. Hendricks, but God. I stand before you on behalf of Dr. Hendricks' first mamas, his first work mamas. With me today, I have Ms. Sheila Mitzi, who was one of his first administrators, middle school administrators, along with Dr. Charlotte Eady, who was also an administrator at his school where he started. I also have his first work big sisters. We have Lisa Hinton, who was his mentor teacher during his first year of teaching, and Ms. Rachel Hagee, who was a very close colleague and friend during those years. Back in 1995, straight from the Wildcat cage of the Fort Valley State University, we ushered Douglas Hendricks into the teaching profession, where he served as a 6th grade social studies teacher at Kelsey Avenue Middle School, home of the mighty, mighty Cougars and the Griffin-Spalding County school system. Kelsey Avenue Middle School was not the preferred school of choice. Because of its demographics and its location, we had major flight, we had white flight, we had black flight, we had teacher flight, because parents didn't want their kids educated in that school. Some teachers didn't want to educate the students of Kelsey Avenue Middle School. But Doug was there for a reason. But God. Even though he didn't say much about his upbringing and his background, Doug saw himself in many of the young students at Kelsey Avenue Middle School. He committed himself to teaching then what was called the QCCs, not only to teach those, but to also teach things like love, confidence, self-esteem, and respect. Doug Hendricks knew social emotional learning before the psychologists and educational folks coined that term. He was there for a reason. And the students and the teachers responded to him likewise. He was definitely a role model for us all.
All right, we're back in the 11Alive Plus streaming center. You have been watching a live video of the swearing-in ceremony for the new interim superintendent of Clayton County Schools. We will continue to follow this. This is a big day if you're a student, if you're a parent of a student in the Clayton County School District. Again, this is an interim superintendent. The district says their search for the permanent superintendent continues. We'll continue to track all of this right here on 11 Alive Plus. We're going to turn now to a story that continues to develop out of Athens, Clarke County. We've been taking you to some live pictures and some video from inside the Clarke County Superior Courthouse, where a cold case murder trial began today. This is the case of the killing of Tara Baker, a 23-year-old University of Georgia law student. She was found dead in 2001, and authorities now believe, they say they know who committed the crime. They have accused Edric Faust of committing the murder. Faust has pleaded not guilty. His trial began today. Opening statements started around lunchtime. Currently, court is in recess, but this is what one of the attorneys for the state had to say earlier today.
And so again, with all this investigation going on and no leads being developed, the case goes cold. Something happened that changed all of that in 2023. Something called the Coleman-Baker Act was signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp. In case you hadn't figured out, the Baker part of that act is named after Tara. This is a law designed to address cases exactly like this one, where all leads have been exhausted and no likely perpetrator has been identified. What the law does is it directs new eyes to be placed on the file, see if all appropriate forensic testing and analysis was done in the first instance, or if additional testing might produce evidence or information relevant to the investigation. And so at this point, enter into our story Agents Liz Bigham and Jeremy Howell with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Agent Bigham, Agent Howell are longtime agents with the GBI, and they joined that cold case unit after the law was enacted. In December of 23, they started looking at this case. And one of the first things they did was a dogged re-examination of all the physical evidence in Tara's case.
So those are comments from the state inside the Clarke County Superior Courthouse in the early hours, not even the early days, the early hours of this murder case in the case of the killing of Tara Baker, that 23-year-old University of Georgia law student. This case started with Tara Baker's death in 2001. Here we are about 25 years later, and this cold case has now heated up. Prosecutors have brought charges. We're going to turn now to Daryl Cohen, who is an attorney in private practice now, but with experience as a prosecutor in Fulton County and elsewhere. Daryl, you've been on lots of 11 Alive shows. I think this is your first time in the streaming center. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we should point out right off the top, you are not involved in any way in the Tara Baker case.
Only viewing it from afar.
But you have lots of experience as a prosecutor, lots of experience in the courtroom. I wonder if we can start here. I suspect a lot of folks who are following along with this trial, the first question might be, how do you take a case that's 25 years old and generate enough evidence that leads prosecutors to think they have probable cause to charge?
Well, Zach, first of all, a lot of people confuse a cold case with a case that's not solved. It could very well be that this defendant was on the eyes. They had him 20 years ago, 24 years ago, but because of DNA and the incredible amount of DNA, how it's just moved forward forensically, the prosecutors, in this case the DA's office, is able to reach out and say, now we think you were the defendant before, we think you killed her, now we can prove it.
This is, because investigators, they have case files, and all of these cases, they'll have people they have questions about, people they maybe have underlined or circled in their notes, but for one reason or another, you're saying they can't get it over the hill of probable cause at some juncture in the past.
Well, they don't want to make an arrest unless that arrest will likely stick and unless the DA's office can have a viable prosecution, a successful prosecution, or basically a conviction. So rather than taking a flyer, taking the risk of investigating what they did, making a temporary arrest, which is all it would be if there's not enough evidence, they want to wait And it may be forever. In this case, it felt like forever and then some. Then they made the arrest based upon all of the evidence that they were able to compile, and more than probable cause. Probable cause is enough for an arrest. Did he or she maybe possibly do it? That's all you really need.
It's kind of the 50% plus one bar, right?
It's sort of like possible cause, but they believe that they have enough to convict him of her murder.
When you talk about the beyond a reasonable doubt standard, would much higher. Daryl, you talk about DNA evidence, you talk about the forensic evidence in the just 25 years since 2001. How much has that science evolved?
Oh, it's evolved incredibly. If we go back to the missing kids in Atlanta that were murdered, Wayne Williams was convicted. That was the beginning of Georgia's DNA, just a little bit. And as each year goes by, science is able to refine, and refine. And now I can't say it's perfected, because as Yogi Berra once said, it ain't over till it's over. They will continue to get better.
And you talk about the evolution of the science. I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but inside of every law enforcement agency, they've got the new cases coming in, landed on an investigator's desk, and then they've got the cold case box that they are trying to continue to revisit. You have these developments in the forensic technology. You perhaps are thinking as an investigator, okay, we may have another shot at this. How do investigators balance keeping up with the old caseload and what is coming in fresh?
That's what I call a DGQ, a darn good question. He or she has to decide, wait a minute, this is forensic evidence that's pointing to the person we believe was a person of interest, now a suspect, and soon to be a defendant. You just don't know. It depends on what case comes up. It's sort of like breaking news. We're planning to have this on air, but something just happened. And so that gets pushed off or pushed away, and we do it now.
I would suspect that would also require a sort of passing of the torch inside of these agencies when one investigator, one detective has been on this case maybe for years, maybe for decades of their career. They leave agencies, they retire, they move on. They, I would suspect, would have to then alert whoever is taking their place and say, hey, remember this case. Keep an eye on it. Keep track of it. How challenging is that, particularly as we've seen in the last recent years, some real turnover and challenges in hiring and retaining law enforcement officers, not just in Georgia, but around the country?
Well, it's not easy. If I am the chief investigator, the chief detective, what happens if I have a stroke? What happens if I die? So hopefully I've made copious notes in the file. Hopefully I've brought in my partners, other investigators, so he or she or they are aware of what we're looking at. It's not easy, but there's sometimes a detective has a case and he or she wants to keep that case as long as they can, because I just absolutely do not like the fact that this person murdered this poor victim, and I'm going to bring him or her, in this case him, to justice.
What kind of challenges, I mean, we're talking about the forensics, we're talking about the DNA, the science behind it, but testimony, first-person testimony is a core element of, I don't want to say every successful prosecution, but most of them, juries like to hear from witnesses. How challenging can it be in a case that is this old, in any case that stretches on for decades, to bring in effective witnesses and first-hand testimony?
What did you have for lunch yesterday? I couldn't tell you. And so you take yesterday and move yesterday to last year, the year before, the decade before. Minds have a funny way of hearing what's going on, and it goes through your mind to your mouth, and it comes out differently. I think it's very challenging. That's why, in this case, DNA will be, in my view, just paramount in being able to prosecute.
We've been talking about the state's perspective on these cases. You're a former prosecutor, that makes sense. But as a former prosecutor and somebody in private practice now, you know the other side as well. How does a defense attorney, how does a defendant prepare for a case like this?
My quick answer is carefully. My other answer is he or she has to be able to turn on a dime. In other words, the testimony that was going to happen here in the courtroom, I have to know that this person was 25 years old, 25 years ago, this witness, maybe he or she was 60 and they can barely talk now. They can't see well. What did you, I mentioned earlier, what did you have for lunch yesterday? Well, my memory's just not as good as it once was. You have to be very careful and analyze all of this and completely, absolutely, 1,000% prepare this person, because all of us have good memories and bad memories. It depends on what resonates. So you want to make sure that you that this witness is as good as he or she can possibly be, and it's not going to be perfect. And you let the jury know, either in your direct examination or an opening statement, that some of our witnesses are not going to be as good today as they were 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. But when you tell the truth, you do not have to remember what you said.
And we should point out, in this case, the defendant has pleaded guilty. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. We, of course, are going to track this case as it progresses over the next few weeks. We are told it will take several weeks to get to a verdict. Daryl, let me ask you this. There is a finite number of resources to conduct the kind of forensic testing that is required to get the results, the evidence that you have described is so helpful for prosecutors in these kinds of cold cases. How readily available and how rapidly available are those resources, those testing resources, for law enforcement officers here in Georgia? Can they get it done quickly, or is there a backlog?
It depends. That's the magic 2 words. It depends.
They talked about that. It depends a lot when I was in law school.
Yeah. And so it definitely depends on how much this case is. How much of a high-profile case is this? Is this Joe who was found on the side of the road, would like to solve it, but okay, I'm sorry. This was a law student, University of Georgia, Clark County. This is a case of major importance for many, many reasons, not the least of which is no one wants to see someone who's doing something with their life, something good, fall by the wayside and not be taken care of. They're looking for justice. You can never get mercy for this poor girl. She's dead, but they're looking for justice.
Daryl, I want to end here. We've talked about the science. We've talked about the prosecution, the defense attorney's likely perspective on all of this. We most certainly do not want to lose sight of the family here. Tara Baker, taken at the age of 23 back in 2001. In your experience dealing with families, the loved ones of somebody who is a victim of a crime, how do they get through this? And how hard is it to have to wait a quarter of a century to even get to a trial?
Day by day, step by step. There is no answer that you can say mathematically, this is the way it is. The way it is each person processes his or her grief in a different way. And I think most families, when someone is finally arrested, is finally prosecuted, and hopefully, at least in their view, convicted, will be absolutely elated. It won't bring back Tara Baker, but it will bring closure. And let me say this, Zach, a lot of this case will depend on our defendant. How is he dressed? What is his body language? How his facial expressions during the trial? Jurors don't just listen with their eyes closed to a witness, whether it's a witness that's a professional forensic scientist or just, and I don't mean just, but a regular person. Juries want to see what's going on. How did he respond? How did he react to this testimony?
Daryl Cohen, we're going to leave it there. We're going to keep a close eye on this case, and I hope we're able to bring it back as we continue to cover it. Your perspective, appreciate it as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here as we continue to monitor this live feed from the Clark County Superior Courthouse, where the cold case murder trial and the killing of Tara Baker has begun. It is underway today. We're going to continue to monitor this case. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center. I'm Zach Merchant. On February 2nd, it is Monday, it is Groundhog Day, and importantly, it is a big day in the baseball season. It's a big day for the Atlanta Braves. Reggie Chapman joining us now on Truck Day, Reggie.
Yes.
This is it. It's the start of the spring.
Look, man, baseball fans are awesome because like little small stuff like this matters so much to them, right? So long story short, they just loaded up a truck with all the gear that they're driving down to Northport, Florida, and for people, this is a massive, massive deal. It's our opportunity.
There's magic in the truck, Reggie. There's magic in the beginning. You're gonna get me all poetic here. I love the start of spring baseball.
There's really a magic in like the how they pack the truck as well. I mean, they gave us some of the stats. There's like so much stuff that they put in these trucks. Actually, let me pull it up here. I got my stat sheet with me today. A lot of water, as you can imagine. Lots of bats. 575 hats, about 432 bats. I mean, they throw everything that they have into these trucks that have to last them for, I mean, over 45 days as the team gets ready for the season. I mean, they go out there and they're gone for all that time, and so we get an opportunity to see some of that stuff. And yeah, you're looking at it now. Blooper was there, as he always is, trying to, I guess, help out in his own way.
He's not getting in the truck, is he?
I mean, he'll be there.
I hope they're not shipping him in the truck. I hope he gets an airplane seat or something.
He'll make his way down here some way. He's trying to help out. You know, he's just a nice guy. He's just courteous. Make sure everything's in there correct.
He's got his listening ears on.
Shout out to Blooper, man. This is the moment, man. This really is the official beginning. It really kicks off what this moment is going to be like in the new baseball season for the Atlanta Braves.
Reggie, let us talk about, as you list all of the things they got to pack. I mean, it's not like you can Amazon major league quality bats en masse. I mean, I'm sure they have a guy, but
yeah,
it's better to pack.
Yes.
This is the start of a new season. Everybody starts 0-0.
Yeah.
This is the time for spring dreams
Yes.
to be blossoming. If you're a Braves fan, how justified are you in having some big dreams going into the season?
I just feel like at no point, if you're a Braves fan, in the last maybe, I don't know, probably 10 years, have you felt like this team can't win a World Series, right? I mean, I think this is another situation where, although it wasn't the busiest offseason for this group, and you already had an injury to the starting shortstop that you signed this offseason, which was kind of your major deal, I don't think that there's anything that shouldn't have you believe that this franchise isn't set up to be successful again in 2026. The starting rotation should be healthier this year. You've got some young talent on the roster, and of course all the main guys are back. And we've got Ronald Acuna Jr. on this team. Anything can happen. And so I like their opportunity to be very good this year. And I'm not the only one that believes that, believe it or not. I share the same thoughts as Chipper Jones, a MLB Hall of Famer and Braves,
guy who knows what he's talking about.
Braves legend. We actually got a chance to talk to him a couple of days ago. Here's what he had to say about this team and Walt Weiss bringing in a new era.
Oh, they're going to hit the ground running. No getting used to a manager getting used to the players. He's been there for 8 years. He knows everybody, what makes everybody successful. They know him. You know, things might be a little more rigid from a discipline standpoint with Walt because he's a little more hardline than Snit was. But I don't think you'll see that much of a difference.
So, guys, I'll tell you, I think it's really a big deal that they have Walt Rice kind of running the show, right? I think when you make a managerial change from a guy like Brian Snitker, who had been leading the way for so long and had been a lifetime Braves guy, to make the move to a manager that was already on staff and a guy that's, although he was already on staff and understands the culture and understands the love for this franchise, he's also a guy that's a little bit different than Snit. He's a little bit more... How do I say? Militant's not the word. He's
crisp,
crisp. Yeah, he gets on you a little bit more, and I think that over the course of the last couple of years, they had lost some of that rigidity and the leadership within the clubhouse. So I think you now get it with a manager that's a little bit more hands-on.
Rigidity is a good word. That's a good way to put it. This has been, Reggie, a little bit of a season of transitions for Atlanta's sports.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, you just tick them off in your head. Almost every major franchise has gone through some pretty sizable leadership overhauls.
Yep.
We're talking about the Braves here, but I want to just ask you an open-ended question, and you can answer with the Braves or the Falcons, United. I mean, there's been a lot of changes. For the Braves, how, in the kind of peril to promise spectrum, where do you put the transition at in terms of the new clubhouse leadership?
I don't know, if you're sitting here thinking about it, I think they're probably in maybe the the most surefire position of the coaches that were hired in this last cycle. I think the fact that he was already on this staff and this team is full of talent already, it makes it a little bit easier for the transition when you compare it to maybe the Falcons, who, when you watch the last group of people that they had running the show, they went full overhaul. And although it feels like they got good guys in place between Matt Ryan and Kevin Stefanski and all the guys they hired, you don't really know. You feel like you have a pretty good idea with what Walt Weiss is going to be doing with this franchise because all the players are pretty much the same. All the upside is still there. You've got guys getting potentially healthier, and it's a guy that you already know what to kind of expect with a little bit of difference with Walt Weiss running the show.
I'm going to ask you a question that hardcore baseball fans are going to roll their eyes at, but a lot of people follow it a little bit. They go to a couple games, they root for the Braves, but they're not locked in like you are every day. I am sure there are some people who hear this news and hear this conversation and it might say, these guys are elite athletes. How much of a difference could a new coach, a new manager, how much of a difference could it be? These guys are elite. Surely they can just go out and execute every day. The reality is that clubhouse dynamics change. It all impacts play in a big way, doesn't it?
A huge way. I mean, at the end of the day, like, these are all elite athletes, right? These are all the best of the best. At some point in time, they're the best person in their town or their city, sometimes their state or even their country. And so they come in with maybe some of that mindset of like, I'm the best, right? And then you get into a clubhouse like this, it has to work. It has to be teamwork, right? And you have to look towards like a real leader. Like Ronald Acuna Jr. is their best player, but he may not be the biggest leader on this team. And I think when you this has kind of been my opinion since Freddie Freeman left. He was an incredible player, but he also was able to give you that leadership aspect that your team needed. He was able to work with the organization. He was really good with Snit. I think they had lost some of that when he left. And when he left, you also had Dansby Swanson leave. And you're looking at guys like Matt Olson, who has kind of been the leader of this organization since, but you also need the manager to be that guy as well to kind of create those standards and set that tone, especially as a person that's respected in the industry. So I think Walt is going to be the guy that's going to be able to keep everybody in their place and hopefully move them towards the correct goal.
A lot of excitement headed into spring training, a lot of excitement headed into the regular season. And there's a lot of fun, too, right?
Yes.
I mean, we've been talking about the cold weather and how chilly it is in the winter, and that's important stuff. We all got through it together. But you start thinking ahead to those summer days, watching baseball. Maybe you're at home. Maybe you're listening on the radio. Maybe you're at the stadium. It's America's pastime for a reason. And there's all sorts of fun stuff, too. Reggie, they're giving out bobbleheads and merch. And, it's not just bats getting loaded into these trucks. There's a lot of fun happening.
Look, man, there's a lot of games they play in Major League Baseball, right? And they're played on every day of the week, and they play all the time. And so I think the Braves have done a really, really good job of creating giveaways and the bobbleheads and the jerseys and stuff. We actually had the opportunity after the truck was loaded up to go see some of the giveaways that they're giving away this upcoming year. Let's actually take a look at some of the video here because it's actually really, really exciting stuff. For example, you look at some of the jerseys right here. One of the big things that they're going to be doing this year is those crossover jerseys. As you can see kind of on the left side there, you have a football jersey, a baseball jersey, a soccer jersey, a basketball jersey, a hockey jersey, different kind of iterations of Braves gear, but on a jersey of a different type of organization. And I think that's kind of tying all the different teams in town together, all the different sports. And of course, the soccer one a big deal because of the World Cup coming to town over the next couple of years. The bobbleheads that they have are really awesome as well. A lot of callbacks to former players on this franchise, including Andrew Jones, who just got added to the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's a really good group of stuff. Personally, yeah, there we go, right there. Some of the bobbleheads as well. And they're actually that one that's all the way to the left side you see right there. It's something that they're doing a little bit different this year as well. It's a Chris Sale bobblehead. It's a bobblehead trading card. You'll see it as you kind of turn around here again, but it's very unique. And so I think the fact that the Braves continue to push the envelope of what they give out and where they have it and how you get it. There's stuff for kids, there's stuff all the time. And I mean, they told me this is just the beginning of the stuff that they're going to be giving out this year. So I'm really, really excited about it.
And we're seeing that image right now of the United crossover uni there, the jersey. This is, and maybe this is a good place to end. We could keep chatting, and producer Gabby back there, if we have time, we will continue. But Reggie, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
World Cup's coming up this summer.
Yeah.
We already talked about all the transition, all the newness in not just the Braves, but almost all of Atlanta's major sports franchises. 2026. How big of a sports year is it going to be for Atlanta?
I mean, it's going to be insane, right? I mean, the fact that you've got the world, I mean, even if it was just the World Cup, right? Like, the World Cup is the biggest sporting event on earth. It does not get bigger. Every single match that you have here is going to feel like a Super Bowl. We have 8 of them here in Atlanta. 5
including
of them,
a semi,
including
right?
a semifinal. We've got 5 first-round games or group stage matches. And we've got 3 knockout games, which means that not only are people going to be coming to these games, it's going to be, I mean, this is not even being dramatic. It's life or death. Right? These teams want to win. It's their country's pride is on the line. It is going to be a massive year in the city just in that regard. And, of course, everything else that surrounds it. I mean, like, you know, naturally the teams in town are going to be bringing out all the stops. I think the Hawks might go on a little run here, but then you also have the things that always happen. The Celebration Bowl is always in town. The Kickoff Bowl in HBCU. You've got the SEC Championship game that's here every year. So much more that happens here every single year, added to a World Cup that's going to take over this city. We are in store for what's going to be an all-time year in sports, and to add to it, I think about all the stuff that's going to be on NBC now that we have the MLB major NBA All-Star is going to be on this channel. We got the Super Bowl in a couple of days. I mean, we have it all.
Got the
here.
Olympics coming up. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
Great time for sports on NBC and on 11Alive. Of course, we are biased. We're excited for that, but a great time for Atlanta sports and Georgia sports. Reggie, I know you have one more video, I think, to show us. I want to ask you one last question on this point before we get there, though, quickly. We talk about people in Georgia, people in Atlanta know Atlanta is a sports town.
Yeah.
Do you get the sense sometimes that people in the rest of the country don't give Atlanta sports the credit they deserve for being a tried and true sports city?
I think that as big as I don't think they give it enough. It's funny because it is big. I think it's rated in a way that people recognize, like, okay, Atlanta's a massive city. They see all of the teams in town all over the place. Obviously, I think a lot of the winning kind of connects to how people feel about the community and the team and everything like that. But I think that one thing when I moved here that I didn't realize is, especially since we're talking about the Braves represent an entire area. They call it Braves country for a reason. It's the same teams. Like, you have the people that are like going at each other's heads, Georgia versus Tennessee or whatever in football. But when it comes down to it, they love the Braves all together.
Take a drive through the Southeast and put some sports radio on, and you're going to hear a lot of Braves games.
It's a lot of Braves. I mean, I'm getting asked to go on radio shows in cities and places I've never been at before. I mean, the people here love the Braves, and I think that because the NFL is king, and we haven't seen the Falcons that good in a long time, I think that has maybe knocked the feeling of it. But I think that once people see how it looks when the World Cup comes around, I think when the Falcons kind of figure things out this upcoming season, I think you'll get close to people really truly realizing what kind of sports town this place really is. It feels like you're always waiting. Like, this is a city that's been waiting for success for years. If they can finally get it with football and the NFL, I mean, it'll change the outlook of this place forever.
We talk about the feeling of spring training. You know, hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
Hope is springing eternal with a lot of reason to be hopeful for the city of Atlanta and all of our sports franchises. Reggie, I think you got one last video to show us here. Take it away, sir.
Okay, so Jory Palmer is the Senior Director of Marketing and Advertising for the Braves, and this is the person who I got all my information from when we were talking about all the giveaways. I mean, I asked her a whole bunch of nerdy questions just because I was really interested in all this stuff because people who know me, I love merchandise and gear and stuff.
Desk.
I mean,
it's
bobbleheads. It's unbelievable. So I got a chance to talk to Jory, and she basically explained some of the things that she loves about this day, being able to showcase all the things that she had been working on over the last couple months to make sure they're ready for this upcoming season.
It takes us about 9 months of planning to really develop these. So for me, this is like Christmas morning where we're finally putting all the presents out, and we really hope people love them because we have kind of gone in a little bit of a different direction. We have unveiled some new collections this year. So as you'll see, we've got our crossover jersey collection. So these are gaining a lot of traction in the sports world. So a lot of people have a Braves jersey, so let's put a little spin on it and remix it.
You can feel the excitement there, Reggie.
Man, it feels good. Man, having my hands on the gear and be able to look at the bobbleheads, I mean, it is awesome, right? I mean, just to give some dates, pitchers and catchers for the Braves show up on February 10th, full squad February 15th. Reggie Chapman will be headed out to Northport, Florida the day after the Super Bowl. I'll be there Monday through
Reggie.
Saturday to bring you coverage for 11Alive. So while you're watching the Olympics and anything else on NBC, when you tune in, you'll see me out there in Northport, Florida, so make sure you guys follow along.
And, you know, a shameless plug for Reggie and the work that he does in the rest of the sports department. You're going to see him on air, and he's going to be doing a killer job. They do a lot of work behind the scenes to be ready to go to the places where sports news is happening, and they work their tails off. I've gotten to see Reggie do it up close, so you've got nobody better, no sports team better than Reggie and the rest of the gang.
Thank you,
Reggie,
Zach. I appreciate that.
Have a great time at spring training, and
Thank
we
you.
cannot wait. In spring, everybody's a World Series winner this time of year, and maybe it'll be us this year.
Well, you're hoping so. I'd love to have another parade.
Everybody loves a parade. Reggie Chapman, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you, Zach.
While we are on the topic of sports, and we talked about this, it is Olympics time. Here on 11Alive, the Milan Games, Milan Cortina, are about to officially get underway. Our Cheryl Preheim is in Italy right now. Let's take a listen to her preview of the games, and we're going to take a break after that, and you will see me over on the main set at 4 o'clock. So let's listen in to Cheryl, and then we'll see each other again in just about 6 minutes.
These Winter Games are really unique because it's not all happening in one place. From here in Milan to Cortina, through many parts of northern Italy, there will be competitions all over much of the countryside, making it the most wide-ranging Winter Olympic sports setup in history.
The Winter Games here in Italy doing something never done before.
I think it's fantastic, and you know, the two cities and the widespread games, and then you have to put this into reality.
Organizers picking 2 cities to share Olympic hosting duties.
So Milano, Cortina, and the IOC accepted this change of tradition, which is not always easy to change.
Hockey and ice skating held in Milan, and 5 hours away, alpine ski racing, curling, and bobsled in Cortina.
In Cortina, there's a strong tradition. You know, we have some of the best athletes.
The recent Summer Olympics in Paris had events all over the city, but Italy's doing it bigger.
To represent this duality of our games, you know, the city and the mountain.
With events all over northern Italy in the most spread out Olympics ever.
So the idea is to adapt the games to the territory and not vice versa.
Using existing venues so Italy didn't build many new ones.
To go where existing venues were, rather than building new ones and making sure that the venues will be used afterwards, in the mountains especially.
And while there are challenges from securing all these areas to getting people to all these places,
Transportation system that we have everybody, not only spectators, but also media and Olympic family move through public transport.
Organizers say these Olympics will show the world a new way to host the Games and show you at home a lot of Italy.
Since there'll be competitions in so many cities, the athletes will be spread out too. So there are athlete villages in Milan, Cortina, and other areas where there's competitions.